Story time. So every time I jump on into a podcast or YouTube recording, it's usually based on either something I'm experiencing personally, something that I'm dealing with a friend who's experiencing it. We're just kind of like talking through to see how to navigate the situation or some kind of inspiration. So today I wanted to talk about actually what I think should be a series, the concept of are we doing enough? Do we have enough? Or are we enough? Right. And like we all know the answers, but head knowledge is different from heart knowledge. And in the same week, I had several conversations with different people who don't know each other, and it was around the concept of enough. So, what I want to focus on specifically today is do we have enough? Right. And when I say that, what I mean is a lot of times we will keep acquiring more things. So, for example, when I'm coaching a client, I will talk to someone who's a brilliant, high performer, productive, super powerhouse. And they will say, you know what? I think I need to get another degree. Or you know what? I think I need another certification. Or I need to get something else as if what they have is not enough. And it's not coming from a place of them feeling that they haven't done enough. It's this tiny, tiny imposter syndrome that creeps up that says, if you want to get to this next level, this is what you have to do. Now, granted, sometimes this is true, right? Like if you're in residency as a doctor, you have to get through residency before you can actually start practicing without the supervision of, another trained doctor. So there's some things that it's just a part of the process. If you want to be a lawyer, you have to pass the bar and get admitted to that state. So there's certain things that are process oriented, and I get that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the person who literally has everything that they need. And for some reason, they keep acquiring more because they feel that that credentialing or that license or that degree or that certification or whatever it is now going to make them equipped or is going to make them qualified. And I've always said that a lot of times you go out trying to get qualified for the things that God already qualified us to do or to be, right? And there's one thing that we usually say in a homeschool community is that God does not call the equipped, He equips the called. So when He calls you, you have everything you need to do what you need to do, right? So there's this thing in our community, whether it's as women, as home centered educators, but there's this thing where we keep trying to get more. Now, I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say one of the things I keep trying to get more of is books. I need another curriculum. Well, I love the way we're doing history, but if I had another curriculum, we would do it better. Oh, this is going really well, but if I had one more of this, that would make it better. And we just go on and acquire more things as if what we have is not enough, but already too much. But we're continuing to acquire. And the question I want to ask you is all those books that we keep buying, how many of them are we actually using? That's what's important. Because if you're acquiring something and actually implementing it, then that's probably not so bad. But I think it goes back to the hard issue of why you're doing it. What is your motivation? What are you thinking that you're missing or that you're not completely fulfilled or that you're not completely thriving in that you think you need to acquire something else, right? So for some of us, we need to acquire more things. It's like that shiny object syndrome, that new thing. We need more, 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 more. Because once we get that thing, then everything is going to be better until we get that thing and realize that it really didn't fill that void or whatever we thought that was missing. Probably nothing was missing. You just wanted to acquire more. For some of us, it's knowledge. I really want to start this business, but let me take this class really quickly. I really want to start doing this, but let me do this really quickly. And again, I'm not talking about things that have a natural process. I'm talking about things where you could literally roll out 10 courses in an hour and you're still not doing it because you're researching, right? Like I know all the buzzwords, I know all the little cute words that we use to procrastinate and not to do what God really told us that we're supposed to do, right? So sometimes it's knowledge that we're acquiring. And then here's the other one that I really want to talk about today. Sometimes we think we need more faith. The Bible tells us that we have been dealt the measure of faith. So it's not that I have 80% and someone else has 100% and someone else has 20%, and we all have to work to build it up to 100%. We have been given, dealt the measure of faith. So why is it that when God calls us to do something, we feel like we need to acquire more faith? We have been so used to getting more, asking for more, attaining more. And unfortunately, one of those things that we try to put in our toolbox to try to acquire is faith. And we don't need more faith. Just like those books that we keep buying, just like those degrees that we keep getting, just like those credentialing that we keep seeking after, maybe the issue is just that we actually need to start using them. So with our faith, do we really need more faith? Or do we need to use the measure of faith that we've already been given? When we think about something that God has called us to do we say, oh, that sounds great. Let me tell this person because they'll be better at it. Or that sounds great. Let me go do some more research, right? It's kind of like these New Year's resolutions. So we start off with, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. We buy all the clothes and we do all the research as to what gym or activities we're going to use. And then we do all the fancy things that allow us to procrastinate and make it look like it's not really procrastinating. We do all those things, but we never really get to the gym. We even buy the membership, but we never actually get to working out because we're acquiring all the things without actually implementing it. So we're not doing the practical things. And we know that faith without works is dead. So you can have 25 gym memberships, but nothing is happening to your health or to your physique until you actually start to use it. Right? So our desire for more is an indication of something. And it's always a heart issue. What's going on in your heart? What's going on in your mind? What's going on? Why you think you don't have enough? Why you think that you can't start right where you are? Something's going on, right? So let's talk about that a little bit more. But I want you to really think about the concept of, are you asking God for more faith? Maybe that's your prayer. God, just give me more faith so I can love this person. God, just give me more faith so I can believe you for the thing that you already promised me. God, give me more faith so I can be the person that you have called me to be. Give me more faith, Lord. I need more faith, Lord. I need more faith. And it sounds holy, it sounds cute, it sounds spiritual, but it's not biblical, right? It is not biblical. We have been dealt the measure of faith, the measure of faith, the one and only measure of faith. We don't need more. We need to use what we have, right? So just like we don't need more books, more tools, more degrees, more this, more that, we need to use what we have. We need to implement. We don't need more coaching. We don't need more counseling. We need to use what we have, right? So going back to that heart issue, there's something that's going on in our heart. Maybe for some of us, we think there's a void. Something is missing. I need something else to fill this void. And once I have that, then I'll feel like I'm enough. I need another curriculum to make this perfect because the perfect curriculum really exists, right? Because someone else knows your family better than you do. So that actually exists. It doesn't, right? So we keep looking for these things that don't exist. We're looking for things that exist that are not going to help. We're looking for things to fill the gap. And there's always going to be a gap, right? Because it's impossible to just do everything and know everything. I guess that's another episode on its own. But we keep looking for things to fill a God-sized void. Nothing is going to fill that void. So instead of saying we need more faith, maybe we need to spend more time with God. Instead of saying we need more faith, maybe we need to spend more time reading the word. Instead of saying we need more faith, maybe we need to use the tools and resources that we already have, right? So that's one thing. It's that void. What are we trying to fill? There's something going on in your heart. And that's an indication. Every time you feel like you're trying to get more, and don't get me started on all the therapy, the retail therapy, the food therapy, right? Like, do you find yourself grasping for more comfort foods because you're trying to fill a void? Instead of dealing with the issue or talking to God about what's going on, you're like, well, another cookie will fix that. You know what? Let me just go through this tub of ice cream and I'll feel better. Is it retail therapy? You're online shopping? And it doesn't feel like anything because the card is on automatic and they already know your details and it doesn't feel like you're spending money until later you see your statement. Or maybe you're going to the store and you're doing the window shopping that turns into the actual physical shopping. You're going out with all these bags and now you feel better until you see how much you've spent. What is that void that you're trying to fill? And what are you filling it with? Clothes, food, people, TV, social media. What are you filling it with? A God-sized void? Nothing is going to fill that. The other thing it could be is not trusting the process, right? So maybe we have a situation where we're like, okay, do this in 5 easy steps. And we're like, there's no way. There's no way. All you have to do is show up every day for X amount of time, and then this is actually going to make a difference. So because you don't trust the process, you're trying to fill in all these different things and do more and more and more. And maybe this is a part of your home-centered education where you have your kids in every single sport and they're doing every single instrument and they're learning to swim and they're learning every single thing because you don't trust the process. You don't trust that you bringing them home was enough. You don't trust that what you're doing is enough. You don't trust that you being their parent is enough. So again, we start to fill it up with all these other things because we don't have faith in the process. And we don't even know what the process is. And that's another story. So whenever you see yourself going through all of this and doing all this, look at your calendar, look at how you spent your time. And that will give you an indication of how you feel about what's going on and what you're doing. All right. So we talked about that void, that God-sized void that you're filling with all these other things without any success. We talked about not trusting the process and how you're doing all these things. But let's talk about the motivation behind that. Because a lot of times we're doing something to prove something to ourselves. Maybe when you were a kid, somebody told you, you'll never be good at this. And you spent your entire life trying to prove that person who forgot that they said it, but you're trying to prove them wrong. Maybe you have a family member who says well-meaning things about your decision to do home-centered education, and they're just generally concerned, or maybe they're just asking a question. Maybe there's no judgment linked to it. And you're like, oh, I have to prove that person. And you're not verbally saying I have to prove that person, but every single action shows that you're trying to prove someone wrong, or you're trying to prove yourself right, that you know what, I can do this. And you can. You can do it. Not only can you do it, you are doing it. But there's a mindset and a heart issue behind our actions. And that's what's important. That's where we need to spend our time. You know, maybe someone said something so mean to you and you have devoted your entire life to making sure that that thing never comes through. Maybe there's a level of fear. Maybe there's even a level of fear of success, but there is something that's causing you to do the things that you're doing, or to make you feel like you're not enough, or to make you feel like you're not doing enough. And the last one I want to talk about is the character flaw. You know, sometimes our desire for more is an indication of a character flaw. To make this go down a little smoother, I'll talk about myself. My biggest character flaw is a lack of patience. And maybe I need to decipher whether it's tolerance or patience, but I don't like to wait. And for simple things, like if I go to the store and there's a long line, I'll just go back another day. Or if I think of something, I want it now. And it's not necessarily that I need it now, it's just I probably want to get it done so I don't have to think about it again. Right. And that's why businesses like Amazon thrive, because of the convenience of getting it tonight before 10 p.m., getting it in 2 days. Right. That's why a lot of businesses do the psychological research and that market and that consumer behavior to know how to get money out of our pockets. So with the patience, I may not be patient enough or tolerant enough or consistent enough to see if this process is working. So I start something and I don't want to wait 10 years or 15 years to see if it worked. So I'm like, let me add another layer. Let me try another curriculum. Let me add something else in. Let me do something else. But that's a lack of patience. The consistency piece is you start something and you do it one day and you do it the second day and you're building momentum. And then 2 weeks go by and you're like, oh, I forgot that I was doing that. So that's not even a trust in the process issue. That's you forgot that there was a process, right? Or it could be something as important as fellowship and your time with God, and you haven't been doing it, right? You're not consistent in it. So there on one level, patience is a character flaw. And then I'm getting all these things and doing more and more and more because I want to see the results quickly, right? If you're that person who does the 30 lesson book or the 30 lesson math program in a shorter period than recommended, it's probably a lack of patience. You don't want to wait to get through it. You want to see it now, right? And then the consistency piece, if you're not constantly going through something and going through the process and you're taking shortcuts or you're forgetting that you're in a process, that's a character flaw. So, what is this character flaw that's making you believe the lie that you're not enough or that you're not doing enough or that there isn't enough? That scarcity mindset. There aren't enough people, there aren't enough resources. And then going back, I don't have enough faith. What is that character flaw? So I really want you to spend some time thinking about those three things. Think about the void that you're trying to fill, knowing that only God can fill it. Think about whether or not you trust the process or even if you know the process, right? And then think about a character issue. All these go back to the heart issue. All these go back to the motivation. Whenever you're doing something, think about your intention. If you say to your kids, gather around, we're going to do this, and you're doing it because you're enthusiastic or you're passionate or because it's their interest, that's one thing. But if you're doing it because you're like, I'm going to teach this kid everything, and they're going to know so much, and they're going to be smarter than the public school kids, and they're going to know more than this kid, and the nephews and the cousins, and you're doing all this at the risk of your babies, this is something you need to work out. This is not for you to spend 20 more minutes or 20 more um, hours with a kid to prove something or to disprove something that's going on in your heart. That's something you need to work out. All right. So I know this wasn't the warm and fuzzy topic, but I really just want you to think about the concept of enough and remember that you are enough. You are doing enough, and there is enough. And God is bigger than everything, bigger than every situation, bigger than every mean comment, bigger than every well meaning thought or opinion that doesn't serve you. God is bigger than it all. And I always say, go back to your philosophy, go back to your why, and that will anchor you in why you're doing what you're doing and help you to get out of this cycle of doing more, asking for more, looking for more. All right. So I hope that while this wasn't the fluffiest message, that you really just listen to it and see if there's any truth in it for you. And then spend some time with God, asking Him to reveal and to show you what to do. All right. I pray that this was a blessing to you, and I look forward to talking to you again. Bye.